The earth lies quiet, wrapped in a silken veil of silver grey. There is no smoke, no cry, no ruin, only the stillness that follows the final breath of an old dream. A hush holds everything: the stones, the sleeping roots beneath them, the pale sky just beginning to glow with the tender promise of returning light. Nothing stirs, and yet something gentle begins to rise, not from memory, but from the very softness of what remains. The air is cool and patient. It does not rush. It lingers, as if unsure whether to speak again or simply keep listening. Among tall grasses, now folded and luminous with dew, there are no footprints, no marks of passage, yet the land feels watched over, not in vigilance, but in quiet companionship, like one hand resting lightly in another. Where once the world had rhythm and weight, now it breathes in an entirely new way. The rhythm is not made of time, but of pause, of listening. The trees do not reach for the sky. They simply exist, content to remain present, their limbs heavy with serenity. No wind rushes through their leaves, but a soundless shimmer touches each branch, as though the sky itself is remembering how to sigh. Somewhere in the distance, a pool reflects a dawn that has not yet arrived. Its surface holds neither past nor future, only the suggestion of warmth. The glow is not golden nor bright, but soft, like sleep on the edge of waking. Its light does not fall. It floats, as if uncertain of gravity's rules. It simply lingers above the surface, waiting for something unnamed. In this silence, the ground remembers the gods not through story or symbol, but through the gentleness they once left behind. That softness seeps up now from the soil, filling hollows and hollies alike, wrapping each stone and petal in an unspoken greeting. There is no need for ceremony. The return is not marked by flame nor fanfare, but by the delicate rejoining of breath and form, a touchless homecoming. From somewhere beneath the deep hush, something stirs that is not movement, yet feels like presence. It is not the return of what was, but the blooming of what has always been waiting, as though the world had simply closed its eyes and now begins to dream again, more slowly, more fully, more gently. Above the sky wears the last veil of night, stretched thin and pearled with dim starlight. Those stars, too, do not speak. They remain where they are, not as watchers, but as fellow sleepers, drifting in the space between knowing and peace. Their light is not urgent, it waits. There are no names left to call out, no songs to reclaim. Instead, the world begins with a hummer, low vibration in the chest of the earth that does not need to be heard, to be felt. It is not a beginning in the way beginnings used to be. There is no sharpness, no sound of striking, only the inward pulse of something that has always existed, becoming soft enough to be held. In this place, where no line divides day from dusk, where even memory sighs and turns to rest, a new kind of presence gathers. It does not arrive, it does not announce, it simply becomes. The trees welcome it by doing nothing. The air makes space for it by continuing to rest. And the hush, vast, patient, luminous, leans in like a cradle and rocks the first breath of the new world into being. As the first petal unfolds in silence, the air listens closely. It will not hurry. There is time enough for everything. Let your thoughts dissolve like mist in still water. Nothing calls for you here, only the hush remains. The light gathers with the softness of silk unraveling. It does not pour or blaze, but spreads gently, as though the sky itself is exhaling. For the first time in a long while, no thunder marks the arrival. No flash cleaves the horizon. Instead, across the calm blue above the resting earth, there is a barely perceptible shimmer, like the hush of a dream just before it is fully known. And from this shimmer they appear, not as conquerors, not as rulers returning, but as wanderers of the luminous beyond, stepping softly onto the breeze. Their forms are not fixed. They glow with a quiet translucence, like starlight draped in mist. The gods do not descend in grandeur, but settle like pollen, weightless and warm, each footstep more suggestion than sound. Wherever they step, the clouds hold them, offering soft cradles of air and glints of pastel gold. They do not speak to one another, there is no need. The stillness between them is full of understanding, shaped by timeless memory and the effortless harmony of shared silence. Their presence doesn't change, the world beneath it harmonizes with it, as if they, too, have been waiting, somewhere just beyond the veil of night, for the right quiet to return. The sky welcomes them, not with color, but with space. Wide expanses of gentle blue stretch around them like open arms, and they move within it like thoughts drifting through a mind untroubled. Some walk, others float, and still others simply remain still, their eyes closed. Not to block out the world, but to feel it more deeply. Each one carries a memory not of deeds or legacies, but of texture. The sound of wind through tall reeds, the cool hush of marble beneath bare feet, the way a child once laughed in a courtyard under a tree heavy with blossoms. These memories are not burdens, they are gentle companions, woven into the folds of their robes, stitched into the drift of their hair. Beneath them, the land does not stir. It rests, even as it senses them above, and they do not disturb it. Their return is not a shift, but a blending, like a song that has always played beneath the noise, rising now because there is finally space to hear it. The gods are not arriving to change anything. They are simply arriving to be. There is a kindness in their stillness, a grace in how they do not need to be seen. Some remain veiled in skylight, little more than warmth felt across the shoulders of the wind. Others pass so near the waking sun that they vanish for moments entirely, their silhouettes swallowed by light that does not burn. Wherever they pause, the air becomes calmer still. Even the birds, just beginning to wake, soften their songs, not in fear or reverence, but in gentle recognition. They too remember this quiet harmony, even if they do not know its name. The gods reach out to nothing, claim nothing. They do not plant flags in the soil or summon elements from the air. They have come not to rule, but to remember. One drifts down toward a hilltop where white grass sways without wind. She lowers herself with the grace of dusk arriving, her feet barely kissing the ground. She does not kneel. She does not rise. She simply rests, her eyes closed, her breath joining that of the soil beneath her. Another trails fingers through the clouds above, and they part for him like water. He watches the opening he creates not with control, but with quiet fascination, like one observing the ripples of a dream fading. And then he, too, lets go, letting the cloud fold itself again into stillness. Above and below, there is no rush. The gods are not late, nor early. They return as one returns to a place that never truly left the way sleep returns to a weary soul. The sky, once empty, now holds presence. Not crowded, not full, just quietly accompanied. Let yourself float with them a while longer. No need to land. The sky is patient. In a wide open valley, kissed by the first light of a day that has no name, a meadow lies in soft bloom. The grass bends as though mid-curtsy, dew-lined and tender beneath the sky's hush. There are no seasons here, no ticking of clocks, only the rhythm of petals unfolding as if they have always known how, without ever needing to be taught. The flowers that blossom carry no memory of soil or seed. They bloom because the world, in its silence, remembers beauty not through history, but through feeling. Each bloom glows with a pastel softness, pale pinks and lavender creams whispering upward as if in conversation with the morning light. No stem grows straighter than another. No petal competes. The meadow grows not in lines, but in murmurs. Here, the gods do not walk as figures apart. They are not larger than the land they are within it, diffused like color into water. One sits beneath a tree with translucent leaves that rustle without sound, trailing her fingers along the earth not to shape it, but to share in its breath. The soil greets her not with gratitude, but familiarity like to old friends lying side by side in shared rest. Nearby, another god reclines within a ring of low flowers, arms folded gently behind his head, eyes half closed. He hums, not with voice, but through presence alone. The sound isn't carried on air, it's felt. In the chest, like the echo of laughter from long ago, softened by time until only the warmth remains. The meadow hums back, not in mimicry, but in understanding. No creature scurries, yet the place is full of life. A butterfly, silver-winged and slow, moves in wide arcs as if tracing the patterns of dreams. It lands nowhere, yet visits every flower. A small bird perches on a branch and watches, not with expectation, but with the still gaze of something that knows it is part of the scene, not outside it. There is no language spoken here, and still there is communion. The gods and the land do not exchange words. They exchange stillness. Every breath is a bond, every exhale a note in a soft, unending lullaby. It is a place where nothing is asked for, and everything is offered simply by being. A breeze, if it could be called that, glides through not with intent to cool or move, but to notice. It carries the scent of fresh leaves and untouched blossoms, mixing with the light in ways that neither seek to define. A god stands, robes moving with the wind like water through silk. He extends a hand, palm open to the breeze, and for a moment it lingers, there as if in greeting, then continues on, unbound. Above the meadow, the clouds continue their slow drift. They do not gather or scatter. They drift because there is nowhere else to be. One could watch them for what might seem a lifetime and never mark a change, and yet still feel, deep within, that something essential is unfolding. There is no return here, no arrival. This meadow does not remember what came before, nor does it need to. It exists wholly in the now, in the pause between moments. In this space, the gods are not defined by who they were, but by how quietly they are willing to be. One by one, they lay down not to sleep, but to join the rhythm of rest. Eyes remain open, hearts remain unguarded, and the earth, in turn, cradles them. The flowers curl gently around limbs, not in possession, but in welcome. They do not cling, they simply lean in. Time has no hold in this place. It does not pass, it settles, like mist in a valley, like breath before it's released, like the memory of a lullaby you do not remember hearing, yet know all the same. Close your eyes within this meadow and feel the way stillness breathes. You are not late, you are not early, you are simply here. At the edge of the meadow, where soft hills begin to rise, like the hush of a question not yet asked, mist lingers in gentle folds. It is not heavy, nor hiding it drapes the land in a light that seems woven from dreams. Through this mist, structures emerge not with weight, but with reverence. They do not stand above the land, they grow with it, as though they were always meant to bloom. The temples are not monuments. They carry no grandeur, no sharp stone or etched command. Their walls are smooth with the soft glow of dawn, kissed by moisture and warmed by breath. Each one is shaped not by hands of labor, but by hands of calmness. The builders, mortal and God alike, do not raise them in effort. They shape them gently, as one shapes clay between breaths, letting the form reveal itself slowly, without hurry. Inside, light gathers with purpose, but without plan. It pools on the floor like honeyed stillness, catching in corners, lingering along the edges of wide doorways open to the breeze. There are no doors. There is no need. The air moves freely, and so do those who wander here. Footsteps are not silent out of reverence, but because nothing here urges noise. A mortal woman sits by a shallow basin carved into the stone floor. She is not praying. She is listening to the water's stillness, to the warmth of her own hands, to the breath of the wall beside her. A god passes nearby, indistinguishable from a man, save for the way light seems to soften around him. He nods once in greeting, and she responds, not with words, but with the lowering of her gaze. Not in submission, but in mutual rest. No hierarchies shape this place. The temples are not altars of power, but resting places of presence. Each space invites pause, not performance. The ceilings curve like sheltering wings, low enough to feel enclosed, high enough to let dreams rise. The floor is cool and smooth, worn not by burden, but by barefoot wonder. Outside, a group of softly, in that secret way known only to early morning games, trace figures in the mist with their fingers. The gods watch without intervention, their faces quiet with memory, yet untouched by longing. There is no loss here, only continuity, only ease. On the temple's outer wall, symbols begin to form, not carved, but grown. Vines and moss etch their slow spirals into the stone, writing stories without words. These stories are not retellings. They are suggestions, curves that recall the arc of a sunrise, patterns that feel like an embrace. Anyone may read them, and all will see something different. This, too, is welcome. In one corner, a fire glows. It is not fed, it does not flicker. It simply is warm and round, more like memory than flame. Around it, mortals and gods sit side by side. Some speak softly of dreams they've had, or the way the river sounded this morning. Others say nothing at all, and the silence, held in common, is its own kind of devotion. There are no rituals here, no rules. Each movement is a kind of prayer, though no one calls it that. A god sweeping the floor with a bundle of reeds. A man pouring water into a cup with both hands. A child laying her head against a pillar, eyes fluttering closed. The temple receives each gesture like a song with no beginning. Mist still weaves through every doorway. It does not obscure, it slows. It invites each breath to deepen, each thought to settle. The temples in the mistlight do not tell anyone how to be. They remind all who enter that they already are. Let the mist gather softly around you, like the arms of a story that never hurries. You have all the time you need. Beyond the temples, a river winds in silence, its path neither straight nor seeking. It does not rush toward a sea. It does not tumble. It glides slow and clear, as though it has learned the art of meandering through stillness. Its surface is smooth as glass, yet it does not reflect the world above. Instead, It holds the sky within it like a remembered dream. This river is not fed by mountain streams, nor storm-fed falls. It simply is, always was, flowing not to arrive, but to continue. It is the breath between words, the silence between heartbeats. As it winds through the land, it weaves no history into its banks. It gathers no memories, carries no burdens. Even the leaves that fall upon it do not drift far. They hover, suspended, then vanishes, if gently welcomed beneath the surface without a sound. Along its edges, reeds bend with grace, parting not with fear, but with calm welcome. Their slender bodies sway in rhythm with something older than time, something deeper than movement. No birds cry here, no ripples break the glass. Even the breeze seems to pause before approaching, choosing instead to linger in the tall grasses nearby, humming low and long like a lullaby only the water understands. A group of travelers, gods and mortals alike, gather at the river's edge. They do not speak. They sit with legs folded, gazes cast not outward but inward, as if the river holds a mirror not of their faces, but of their quietness. Some dip fingers into the current, but the water does not resist. It parts gently, as though reshaping itself around each touch, eager to include without clinging. One child stands with a small boat of woven reeds in her hands. She places it carefully on the surface, and it floats without hesitation, drifting only far enough to become part of the moment. No wave carries it forward. No breeze pushes it away. It remains in sight, and that is enough. The gods do not draw meaning from this. They do not bestow lessons. Instead, they, too, watch the boat, and in their eyes is not wisdom, but rest that comes from being present without purpose. One god cups the water in his palm and lets it flow out again. He watches how it falls, not with thought, but with simple attention. The water leaves no mark, and yet he smiles. Further downstream, the river fans into a wide basin where lilies bloom upon its surface. They open not with the sun, but with the hush. Their petals spread only when the world becomes quiet enough to notice. A mortal woman walks among them, stepping barefoot on stones that rest just beneath the surface. She is followed by a breeze that seems shaped by her silence. There are no reflections here, not because the water is dark, but because it chooses not to echo. What is given to the river is not returned, but held, dissolved into calmness. Laughter, sighs, even questions offered here melt into still water and are not answered. Yet those who leave the river do so lighter, as though the water has accepted their offering without keeping it. The river does not separate places. It joins them without bridges, without crossings. To stand on one bank is to already be near the other, no need to step across. The space between is only as wide as a thought, and even that thought fades as the current continues. Above, the sky hangs low and pale, clouds softening like linen hung to dry. A single bird glides across it, with wings unmoving, drifting without pattern. Below, the river continues its hush song, always the same, always new. Let your thoughts dissolve into this water that asks for nothing. Let it carry what you need not name. The horizon no longer waits. It glows not in triumph or crescendo, but in a gradual warmth, a sigh stretched across the sky. Light does not break. It seeps slowly. Lovingly, the sun, newly born yet ancient in feeling, rises without drama. It doesn't command the sky, it listens to it. Its rays thread through the air like silk cords drawn by unseen hands, delicate, deliberate, unbound by hurry. Across the land, light moves like a weaver, not casting brightness, but shaping stillness with subtle gold and soft rose. It doesn't pierce shadows, it nestles beside them, curling at their edges like a friend sitting close. Every stone, every blade of grass, every resting shoulder is cloaked in the light's hush. There is no awakening, no shift from sleep, only the deepening of presence. The gods, who once floated as thought and drifted as mist, now begin to walk the threads of this light. Their steps are quiet, not for fear of the waking world, but because they, too, feel the reverence of morning made whole. Each footfall lands, not with weight, but with care, as if greeting the soil with gratitude for simply being. One god cloaked in robes, the color of morning frost pauses beside a stone arch softened by moss. She touches its edge, not to bless or bind, but to listen. Light gathers at her fingertips, not to glow, but to hum a soft shimmer that suggests warmth without heat. She closes her eyes. The stone hums back. They are not exchanging, they are remembering together. Elsewhere, a boy walks beside a god, who appears to be made of light stitched with shadow. They speak no words. The boy reaches out to touch the hem of the god's garment, which feels not like cloth, but like sunbeams. He laughs once barely a whisper, and then falls silent again, smiling at the way the light moves around his fingertips. All across the land, the light doesn't just illuminate it, participates, it dances along wind-blown curtains, paints. The inside of folded hands rests in the hollow of a sleeping deer's ear. Even within the quiet temples, it threads across the ceilings and down into the fire bowls, touching each stone as though braiding memory into being. There is no urgency. In this dawn, no need to mark its passage. It is not a beginning, it is a deepening, a soft unveiling of what has always existed beneath the dark. Not hidden, but simply waiting for eyes that had rested enough to see. A god weaves morning into a strand of hair. She braids it slowly, the way light might thread itself through the branches of a willow. Her movements speak of stillness, not ritual, and beside her are mortal watchers, not out of reverence, but recognition. He, too, begins to weave. A blade of grass, a ribbon, a whisper. Together, they let the morning settle into shape between their fingers. Even the sky listens. Clouds drift more slowly now, not lazily, but with purpose that has no destination. The sun continues its rise, though one might hardly notice. It does not climb, it expands. A soft breath held for so long now, flowing outward, not to cover, but to join. Each ray of light is a thread, each moment a stitch, not of fabric, but of being. This world is not being built. It is being woven, gently, by the act of noticing. The gods do not pull the threads tighter, they let them remain loose, allowing air and quiet to move freely through the seams. And so the land wears its light not as armor, but as a robe of stillness, stitched slowly by sun and silence. Close your eyes beneath this golden net. Let the light hold you loosely and lull you into softness. Along the river's bend and beneath the softly woven sky, people begin to stir not with ambition, not with need, but with a deep and quiet curiosity. Their movements are unhurried, shaped by the gentleness of the dawn. There is no call to gather, no summons from above. And yet, across the fields and glades and temple shadows, hands begin to reach not outward, but downward to touch, to shape, to understand. The earth is soft beneath their fingers, warm where the light has lingered, cool where the dew still. Clings a man kneels beside a patch of clay and runs his palm across its surface. Not to mold it, not to take from it only to feel its readiness. He doesn't press, he doesn't plan. He simply rests his hands upon it and lets them sink slowly, as though the earth were guiding him as much as he is guiding it. Nearby, a woman gathers smooth stones from the river's edge. She places them in a circle, then pauses. There is no map she follows, no lesson she recalls. The stones find their places by listening one to another, and to the quiet space between. What she builds is not a structure, it is a pattern, a resting place for stillness. Children trace circles in the dust with branches, not to draw pictures, but to see how the lines fall. A boy lays his head on the ground and listens to the echoes within it. What he hears cannot be told, but when he sits up again, his hands move differently, slower, as if remembering something that never had to be taught. Gods walk among them, not as teachers, but as companions. One offers a lump of soft mineral to a girl crouched over a flat stone. She takes it, examines it, and hands it back with a smile. No words pass between them, only the joy of noticing together. Another god sits with an elder beneath a willow tree. They do not speak. They weave reeds into mats that may never be used. The act of weaving is enough. There are no tasks, no instructions. Each hand follows what it senses, not what it is told. Shapes rise from the land, not grand but soft and curved. Shelters with open ceilings, where rain might fall freely. Platforms that hold sleeping mats, surrounded by flowers. Walkways edged by moss, not stone. The world is not being built, it is being joined. Even fire is shaped gently. Flames are coaxed into small pools of warmth, their light soft and welcoming. Not to push away dark, but to hold space for dreams. Around them, people gather without purpose. They listen to the crackle not as noise, but as story. Some hum, some doze, some pluck strands of grass and braid them without looking. The gods do not guide the shaping, they do not lead. Instead, they respond. One lifts a fallen branch and places it beside a growing structure, not to suggest, but to offer. A child adds a leaf. A bird lands, looks, and flies away. Somehow, the branch stays. Nothing here is measured, nothing is planned. The world that rises is not a reflection of past or promise. It is a landscape of presence. Hands do not work, they listen. They shape what wants to be shaped and let go of what does not. When tiredness comes, it is welcomed. No one fights to finish. The day does not close with achievement. It settles with breath. The sun continues its soft motion, draping the land in the color of peach and pearl, and the hands rest. Not from toil, but from fullness. Let your hands feel light now. Let them be still. The shaping is not finished because it never had to be. Evening arrives not as a curtain, not as a closing, but as a melody so soft it takes no voice to carry it. The sky deepens into layers of quiet color, lavender and rose, pale indigo melting into the hush of approaching dusk. There is no divide between day and night, only a gradual unfolding, as though the sky is remembering how to hum. Above the gently shaped world, the first stars begin to appear, not in brilliance, but in subtle breath. They do not arrive all at once. They arrive like thoughts returning. Each one flickers into being without effort, held loosely in the wide arms of the sky. Their light is not to lead or to declare. It is to soothe. It is to remind. Below them, the people settle. Some in soft shelters, others beneath open trees. Voices murmur in tones so low they blend into the evening air. Laughter is rare, but when it rises, it floats like palangental, golden, brief. No one shushes it, no one repeats it. It simply is, and then it goes. The gods, too, are quiet now. One traces his fingers along the rim of a shallow pool, stirring, only enough to break the perfect stillness, then letting it return. Another gathers fallen petals, not to keep, but to scatter into the breeze. They rise for a moment, then spiral down. Their descent is slow, a kind of dance without music, guided only by gravity's calm embrace. From the hills a sound begins to form, not quite a song, not quite a whisper. It comes from everywhere and nowhere, woven of breath and time and light. It is not sung, and yet it sings. The sky, in its new memory, carries it soft as lullaby, lighter than wind. No instruments shape it, no mouths create it. It emerges the way dreams do, from the spaces between words. Some lie down to listen, eyes open to the stars. Others sit, in silence, hands resting gently in their laps. A god closes her eyes and lets the sound move through her, not as command, not as call, but as belonging. She smiles without movement, and in her stillness, others find their own. There are no names given to the song, no verses to learn. Each being hears it differently. To one, it may sound like distant waves upon a stilled shore. To another, like a mother's breath beside a crib. To another still, like the rhythm of wings unfolding beneath twilight. But for all, it brings the same gift, the soft reminder that nothing need be earned, that rest is not reward, but nature, that the sky itself, in all its enormity, has learned to carry the quiet as gently as a hand carries a flame in the dark. And in this moment, nothing is expected. The day has not passed. It has simply changed its tone. The last rays of sun drift over the hills, not falling, but sighing into the arms of the stars. Fireflies begin to pulse within the grasses, tiny echoes of the sky above. They do not guide, they accompany. And everywhere between reed and stone, hand and breath, the new world continues to hum. Let the sky's lullaby drift into you now. Let it rest in your chest like a warm and endless hush. Now, let your breath slow. Let it settle like a feather, finding the quiet center of its fall. There is nothing more to see tonight. The gods have returned not to change, but to be beside you. The world has softened, not through effort, but through attention. And now, it welcomes you to do the same. You are not separate from this story. You are the hush between its lines, the light that does not need to shine brightly to be known. Around you, the land rests. The sky deepens. The water forgets the need to flow. And so can you. There is no path to follow, no lesson to carry, only this moment, this breath, this hush that lives inside you. Let it spread slowly through your fingers, through your chest, through the space behind your eyes. Let it cradle your thoughts, untangle them, and let them drift like petals in a still pool. No memory needs to rise now. No thought must be kept. Here, under the dream-braided sky, even silence sings. You do not need to understand its tune. You only need to feel the warmth it leaves behind. The gods are near. The stars are near. Your breath is near. And all of them say the same thing, without words. You are already held. Let sleep find you, not like a tide, but like a soft and waiting hand. You may go now, gently, into the quiet that knows your name.